So we got to do a little bit of a continuation of yesterday's show where I basically talked about how everybody's admitting Trump was right. And he's actually been right this entire time. And what he's doing is actually working. Because there's a whole lot more that I've just continually come across. And we're going to dive into it, including we got to talk about Kamala Harris because she recently did an interview where she said something that's quite interesting. And even CNN had to admit that what she said was completely bogus. So with that being said, let's jump into these poll numbers to start off with because it ain't looking good for the Democrat Party, man. It's getting real ugly. Let's dive in.
Democrats at this point are historically divided. It is a complete and utter mess. It is messier than a hoarder's basement. What are we talking about here? The national early poll leader, 25% plus. Normally, that's where Democrats are. Biden was at 25% plus in 2020. Hillary Clinton was in 08 and 16. Gore was in 00 and 04. At this particular point, there is no one in the Democratic race for president who's polling at 25% plus. The water is quite warm. If you're a Democrat potentially thinking about running in 2028, jump right in because at this point, there is no front runner.
What do you think? Is that because how people view the Democratic Party right now, is that contributing to this?
Yeah, I think that is in large part of what's going on, is one of the reasons why there is no front runner. Nobody wants to put anybody up at the top of their ballot list is because at this particular point, the Democratic brand is in the basement. It is total and complete garbage in the mind of the American public. The Democratic Party's net favorable rating, record lows in all three. Wall Street Journal, 30 points underwater. CNN, 26 points underwater. Gallup, 26 points underwater. And that is being driven in large part by discontent within the Democratic base. The Democratic base wants something different. We'll ultimately end up seeing who they choose. It'll be quite the thing who ultimately gets the rose.
Looking real ugly, if I do say so myself. Looking real ugly. All right. Now, let's move on to Kamala Harris. Obviously, I talked about her at the beginning of this video because it's not looking good for her either.
Hold your horses here. The chance that Kamala Harris is going to be the 2028 Democratic nominee, they don't look too good right now, to be perfectly honest with you. Chance of being the 2028 Democratic nominee.
Don't you do the caveat of what year we're currently in?
I believe we're in 2025, though. It kind of feels like 2045. There have been so many years since just one so far. Look, Gavin Newsom is the favorite at 20%, according to the betting markets. Do not sleep on Ocasio-Cortez. AOC right up there at 15%. Buttigieg 9%. Shapiro 6%. Harris all the way down at 6%, basically in a tie for fourth place at this particular point. So if you have any ideas that Kamala Harris is passing up a potential gubernatorial run in for 2026 in California and perhaps would be trading up for a presidential bid, the betting markets at this point, simply put, do not buy it.
Yeah, so you saw that, and to give you a little bit of backstory, Kamala recently did an interview where this is something separate. I'm getting them mixed up. She recently announced that she wasn't going to run for governor of California. And so there have been some Democrats that have been celebrating because they thought that she was going to then run for president again, which I don't know why anybody would celebrate Kamala wanting to run for president again after she spent over $2 billion on her campaign and still lost every single swing state and the popular vote. But I don't understand why people would be Democrats these days either. So, I guess it makes sense. None of it makes sense. But yeah, that's the backstory. People were thinking she was going to run for president, but the poll numbers say otherwise. And here's where Harry Enton poured some absolute cold water on Kamala because she went in this interview and said that, basically she didn't want to necessarily be in politics a whole lot anymore. And she felt like she could do a better job being outside of politics. That's paraphrasing what she said. And listen to what Harry Enton had to say about it.
Can't possibly believe that someone who was attorney general for a good period of time, a United States senator for a good period of time, and then vice president for 4 years, and then ran for president, all of a sudden believes that the best way to solve it is from being outside the system? Oh, please. Not a chance on God's green earth that that's necessarily the case. What's probably going on is she saw what the polling numbers were, perhaps, for her running for governor of California. Yes, she has left open the idea that maybe she could run in 2028 for the Democratic nomination. But I'll tell you, Abby, I've looked at those numbers. She would be the weakest front runner since 1992. So the bottom line is this. She's looking at the numbers. She knows what's cooking. And then all of a sudden, you know what? Actually, this lifelong politician, I want to be outside the system. Give me a break.
Yeah, so she basically called the system broken, and she could do a better job fixing it from the outside or being a part of it from the outside. And Harry Ensign's like, yeah, no, you just know that you weren't going to be elected because you saw the poll numbers. They're absolutely horrific for you. Now, I want to continue on with Chris Cuomo. And I showed you guys a clip of Chris Cuomo yesterday, but there was more to that clip. And I want to show it for you guys because it is honestly incredible. It's really incredible. So check it out.
Your candor. Next.
And you know what? A lot of calls saying the exact same thing. And the sad part is that she feels that she can't say it, you know. But anyway, David from Tamaqua, Pennsylvania.
David, what are you wrong about?
Hi, Mr. Cuomo. First of all, I'm a registered Democrat who voted for Trump. I thought this would never happen, but some of the Democratic Party is finally walking up and saying President Trump is doing something good. They were meeting at a Senate meeting. What they're doing is great. What they started doing is to reunite themselves and reunite us. So please keep it up. Keep meeting, keep talking, keep fixing things, keep uniting us and the parties together. This will make our country stronger than ever in the world. I love it.
Good for you. Good for you. Fix. Instead of telling us why the other guy's worse, how do you make it better? Fix. You're right. I'm with you, David. Next.
Greg, Mr. Positive, is he there?
He's never been wrong.
You there, Mr. Positive?
Mr. Positive. Sorry, I only
Maddie,
text with him every
go
day.
to Maddie Stew real quick. Maddie Stew. But I think he has a similar sentiment.
Maddie, what are you wrong about?
Hey, Chris. I was wrong to hate President Trump, and it took October 7th for me to realize that, and him coming into office, and with whatever the Democrats are these days, and the rise of anti-Semitism, to make Trump the common sense hero of Israel these days.
Now, Maddie, I still got you. What do you think of the shift away from Israel that seems to center around what people keep seeing with kids and hunger in Gaza? Where do you think that leads us?
That we could have said on day one, this was going to be the plan for Hamas, was to continue to double down on starving the civilians of Gaza. That was going to always be their game plan. They're going to continue that. The moment they let the hostages go, they have no leverage. Their plan is not life. It's death and destruction of Israel. And they don't care about their civilians. They hide behind them and build shelters underneath them.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, people don't blame Hamas for this. They don't blame Hamas for this. And I'll tell you what. We live this. We live this, Maddie. So, look, you don't feed your enemies. Fair enough. But when it's overwhelming superiority of force, this is why we gave so much aid to Iraq and Afghanistan while we were destroying places trying to get to al-Qaeda and then ISIS. This is why. Because it looks bad. And it does. It does.
So, yeah, you had people calling in and admitting, I was wrong about Trump. I was really wrong about Trump. But there's also more great news. And that great news is there is more major shifting going on in this country. And that shifting is happening amongst young men and women. Check out this next clip.
Young Americans are shifting more and more to the right. This research got our attention. It shows from 2023 to 2025, a 44-point swing towards Republicans for men 18 to 29. And maybe even more surprisingly, for women aged 18 to 29, a 14-point swing to the right. That's pretty dramatic in a pretty short period of time. Joining me now, independent journalist Evita Duffy Alonso. Evita, great to see you. Thanks for being here. I mean it. I think we've talked a lot about young men. I don't know that we've really factored or taken into account what's happened with young women to see them swinging to the right.
Well, there is a cultural shift that's happening. We can talk about that separately with young men. I think it has to do with dating and with spirituality. But I think, Will, that the issue of the American dream being unaffordable in this country, it goes beyond men, women, black, brown, white. This is something that we all agree on. If you look at the price of rent, the price of housing, education, of healthcare in this country. It's out of control. And I think that the Democratic Party, and especially Kamala Harris, they have not been addressing these issues at all. I think you'll see AOC and Mamdani and maybe Bernie Sanders talk about them, which, by the way, if any of those candidates become president of the United States, it's going to be a nightmare for all of us. That means equitable suffering for everyone. But what's interesting is they are leading to the political right because finally we are embracing a brand of right-wing populism that is actually addressing the destruction of the American dream in this country, which is deeply impacting my generation.
Facts. And to her point there, because she said if they ever win, that is going to be suffering for everyone. The only way that Democrats could possibly squeak out a presidential win in the next, 20 years is if Uncle Trump fails. If Uncle Trump fails during his presidency, during this presidency, then we may see a Democrat win. We very well may see a Democrat win in 28 if he fails. Now, do I think he's going to? No. I don't foresee that happening because time and time again, over and over and over again, and we've already seen it and I've talked about it in several videos, he's been succeeding already. We're 7 months in. Well, I guess 8 months in. Now, wait, 7 months? I don't know. Anyway, we're not very far in, right? We still got a whole other 3 years for these policies and things to really take effect because obviously it takes time. Just because you sign a bill yesterday doesn't mean like you start to feel the effects immediately. Those things take some time to really take effect. So I think the further that we get into his presidency, the more we'll start to feel the positive effects of everything that's going on. And we're already starting to see some positive things really start to happen already. So I think it's going to be really, really bad for Democrats come 2028. But that's just my humble opinion, and y'all can let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Now, I want to play this clip because I found it quite interesting to hear someone on mainstream media actually say this out of their mouth.
It might sound counterintuitive, but maybe what's in the party's best interest is to, dare I say, agree with Trump from time to time. Acknowledge wins on issues like NATO, trade, and the border, which have yielded some positive results, even while disagreeing with the way in which they came. It's a good thing that migration through our previously porous borders has slowed to a trickle, and that our NATO allies have agreed to increase their contribution from 2 to 5% of gross domestic product, and that the markets, despite having just had a rough week, have done well in the year to date. Inflation seems to be tamed. Plus, while Trump's tariff policy looked like it was implemented by the seat of his pants, thus far, all the doomsday fears have not panned out. It might sound counterintuitive.
All the doomsday fears have not panned out, and it would actually benefit the Democrat Party to admit when Trump clearly has done something right. And honestly, I agree. It would actually benefit the Democrat Party to say, you know what? Trump was actually right about that. He was actually right. We were wrong. We miscalculated things, But nah, they can't do that. They can't do that. So time and time again, they're getting exposed and more people are coming over here to the right. So, hey, is it Burger King? Have it your way. So, like BK, have it your way, Democrats, have it your way. We will continue to welcome more and more people from the Democrat Party over here to the new Republican Party. We will continue. All right. We ain't got no problem doing that. We are actually a welcoming party, unlike, the Democrat Party. So we will continue on. Now, I do want to end it with this because this could be major. The Supreme Court may move forward with a decision looking over a decision, and that is ending race-based gerrymandering. And what that would do is that would cause the Democrat Party to possibly lose 25 House seats. 25 House seats is what they could possibly lose if the Supreme Court decides to make a decision on this. That would absolutely be devastating for the Democrat Party. And listen, I think the Supreme Court should decide on this. And of course, they should decide that we need to end race-based gerrymandering. So, that is going to be real ugly. That would mean Republican control in the House for quite some time, if I say so myself, unless, of course, Trump fails, which I don't believe that will happen. So, yeah, bro, look at this country, man. Look how much red there is. Look at that. I mean, just red everywhere. Everywhere. And then you got little specks of blue here, there, there. You got, the big cities, the bigger cities. But like for the most part, this is just like a sea of red. Absolute sea of red. Isn't this Miami-Dade County down here? Well, you can't even see my cursor right there. Isn't that Dade County, Miami right there? Deep red? Wow. Incredible. I believe that's Miami right there. Man. And look at California. Some deep red in there too. Some real deep red. Beautiful to see. Beautiful to see. But yeah, y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions on all of this. What do you guys think? How do you guys think midterms are going to turn out? Do you think because, Democrats are fear-mongering and Trump's policies haven't fully taken hold, do you think Democrats will squeak out some well-needed W's for themselves, obviously? Do you think they would squeak out some needed W's for themselves, or do you think Republicans are going to extend our lead? Let me know. Let me know. I personally think we're going to extend our lead. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but I think we're going to extend the gap. We're going to make the gap a little bit bigger in the midterms. But that's just my humble opinion. I'm just the guy that talks on the internet from time to time. Y'all let me know your opinions in the comments, all right? Stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit that like button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.